ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2. At the minute we're looking at the castle, kind of, that we set up with the assets. I think I went through this in the last episode. The one where we constructed the Axbridge viaduct. And looking at the comments on that episode, I do think we are going to go ahead and do some more things along those lines, using the various assets that you can unlock, if you will, via mods. And we're going to create a little village or tourist attraction, something like that. I'm not sure which yet, more than likely a village, just so we have a use, as it stands right now, for this slower commuter service line that we have between the towns of Herne Bay and Long Eaton. As you know, our main line is up and running, that's all fine. We have 2 trains now operating on that line, and the demand for that line is exceptionally high. So perhaps we need to look at either adding a 3rd or 4th train, or elongating the current trains that we have running on our main line. Because as I was getting into position to film the introduction to the episode, I noticed that at most of our stations, I'm not sure about the one at Epping, I didn't go that far north, but certainly at Herne Bay, oh look, there goes a Flying Scotsman now. I must say that looks rather nice. Not a bad view at all, is it, from the castle? Let's see the Flying Scotsman on our way past. Yeah, as I was saying, Axbridge and Long Eaton, and I assume, sorry, Axbridge and Herne Bay, and I'm going to assume Long Eaton, although I didn't check, they have a lot of people waiting at the station, so that's something we need to be conscious of. But, you know, it's not going to make or break anything. If it means there's a lot of people waiting around, then there's a lot of people waiting around, and yeah, it's not as efficient as it could be, clearly, because we're not clearing the platforms fast enough. But they're going to give us their money eventually when we can pick them up. So I'm happy to live with that for the time being, and instead we're going to, like I mentioned, just turn our attention to looking at how we can use some of these assets to create an artificial draw for passengers, and that way we can have some slower trains running alongside the main line, just to make the map feel a little bit more alive. Now we're in this position, A, because we've got the nice castle to have a look at, if I do say so myself, but also over that way to the centre right of the screen. That's roughly where I'm looking to go. Now we do have a forestry industry over there, and there is I think it's a fuel refinery as well, and it's where we have the little viaduct that sits on the line, sorry, that runs from the fuel refinery all the way up to Epping, if you remember. If you don't, I'll show you anyway. And I think somewhere like that would be a good place to experiment with making an artificial village. So if we bring up the UI, I'll be able to show you what I mean here. So if there's a bridge there, and if we have a village somewhere in this area that we can quite easily connect into our second passenger line right here, and start running people into, well, initially we'll go into Long Eaton. So if we head over there, yeah, somewhere around here is where I'm thinking that it's not going to be anything too big or too extravagant. It doesn't need to be. Obviously what we don't want to do is make a small town with hundreds of people, because then there's a chance that this train line we're trying to set up, which we're intending to be a small local rural train line, is going to be swamped, and that just wouldn't work for what we're looking to do. So I'm thinking, if we had a road that came, say, from this corner here up to here, we could put a few side roads off of it and just put a few residences down via the assets, a few shops and the likes as well, obviously. Maybe even an industry, not an industry such as, you know, an iron mine or an oil refinery, but an asset industry, just to make it look like the people there, you know, they have somewhere to go, they have somewhere to work. It feels alive, it feels normal, natural. So let's make a start then. So this episode is going to be a bit of a break from the norm, and obviously feedback on that is always welcome. If it's something you enjoyed, then obviously I will try and incorporate more of this sort of stuff. If on the other hand it's something you enjoy but only perhaps as a break from the norm, then it's something that we'll do, but it'll only be every, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes or something like that. You know, it's about getting that balance. Of course, if it's something you detest altogether, and that's absolutely fine if you do, you know, this sort of thing isn't for everybody. A lot of people do just want to set up the train lines, connect the industries, see the locos, and that's completely fine. Then again, yeah, maybe I'll do this sort of stuff off camera. Anyway, let's resume the date. So yeah, you'll have to let me know, and obviously I know that there is no pleasing everybody, if you know what I mean. I can't keep everybody happy. So if your opinion is swallowed by weight of numbers, shall we say, then obviously I do apologise for that. But that is life. That's the cornerstone of democracy, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you don't always get the outcome that you are looking for, but we'll do our best to keep everybody happy anyway. So yeah, what we're doing here is just putting a few roads in and around between these two country roads here, with a view that these will be where the residences and the shops are located, and maybe we'll have a slightly larger road here running this way. Maybe that can connect up there. Now, we don't have to fill in this entire area with assets, because that would take too long, and we run the risk of creating a bona fide city with hundreds of residences, and our station will have several hundred people waiting, whereas really we just want to keep it in double digits more than anything. We only want a small train running out here, and it's not going to be a train that we're looking at to make money. It's a train we're looking at to add realism, if you will, or a bit of vibrancy. Yeah, I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, this is where we've got all these assets here. Look, you see we've got a lot of mods installed at the moment. If you are interested in the mods that are now running, let me know, and I will put some sort of list together. There are a lot of them, so you do need you know, something quite powerful to back this up, if you will, in terms of your machine size and capabilities. But obviously with the assets you can just pick and choose which ones you want. Some of them you'll say, you know what, I can live without that. Some of them you might think, oh yeah, I do like that one, so I'll sacrifice this for that, and you know, then it's down to your own judgment as to what's going to serve you best. So if we're looking through here, we can see we've got a load of house styles, medieval buildings. That looks quite like some sort of manor house. I think all of these are. That would do as a hotel. I think that looks, yeah, quite like that. What's all this about basement? Okay. So yeah, as you can see, we've got plenty of variety, which is obviously the aim of the game here. We don't want a lot of the same house repeated over and over again. We have some sports facilities, golf club, which is which will be fine, but we don't have a golf course, so it would just be the clubhouse. But we've got bars. Some of them perhaps don't fit the early aesthetic in terms of the building style. Some of them look a little bit more modern, like this grill here. Or for example, let's say this bowling alley. You wouldn't use this in 1850, which wouldn't fit in, would it? So you do have to be careful about Burger King or Goo Burger. Sorry, yeah. You have to, you might have to trade off a bit of realism. Oh, that's a very shiny cinema. It's a shame the reflections aren't quite what we have behind us, unless somebody else has built the town. Nope, no, they haven't. Nope, it's definitely empty. So yes, plenty to choose from. These ones, they've got a more European feel to them. Make me think of somewhere like Amsterdam perhaps, or Prague, with that sort of architecture. And as you can see with this one, you can actually have this populated with residences anywhere from 0 to 25. Now if we're going to use that, we're not going to do it on every single building, because like I said, we don't want to have hundreds of people living here. But what we do want is enough to have people milling about, walking around, going down to the shops, getting to the, obviously using the train that we're going to set up. So we'll set it to 5. So let's start with this one, shall we? Because we've got it here now. And we can see we've got that connection so they can get in and out. And then not every building will have that option enabled. So if we go back here and choose a different one, would that be good on a corner? Yeah, that'd work. And say did that, but we didn't have any residents in this one. it still adds to, like if we don't align terrain with that, yeah, that's better. So it still adds to the look and feel of the village, although they are more townified than villageified, if you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, they still add to the whole making it build up and look alive, but we're not going to have swarms and swarms of people around here, which is, as I said at the start, not what we're trying to do here. We don't want hundreds of people. Of course, to avoid all of that, what you can do, although the problem with doing these buildings is of course that they soon go out of fashion. Although these early era A buildings, they do look good for a what would you call it, like an English village with the stone farmhouse style buildings. However, you wouldn't really have them plopped next door to these apartments, shall we say. So if we had some of these but maybe moved them out here, and do we want the collision on? No, because look at, we have to set them really far back there. Look at that, we can't get any closer to the road there, unless that's the tree that it's colliding with, but I don't think it is. No, it's the same on this side, look. So we'll have the collision disabled for these, that way we can get them up against the roadside. And we should just go through some of these options here and just keep it varied and keep a variety going, like this. Maybe some smaller ones on the opposite side, just to, like I said, just to mix it up, just so we're not looking at the same building repeated ad infinitum, because that would just detract from what we're trying to achieve. It just wouldn't look right. But some of these, like I said, some of these brick early era houses, they do have that ancient English countryside village vibe to them, which is what we're looking to achieve here. And actually none of these have the residence option enabled, as we saw, or even as an option available that we saw with these buildings over here. So these literally are just for aesthetic reasons only. So let's look at the residential too. What are these ones? So this is where you'd probably start having something like this, where you're transitioning from the, not necessarily single story houses, but from the smaller, maybe single residence houses, single family houses, to these larger ones that we have over here. So these fit quite well, I think, in this area. Although that one, the front door, is a little bit off the floor, as we can see. But are you going to notice that? No, we'll go for it, because from a distance you're not going to be able to tell that. And if you can, well, you can ignore it, 'cause that's what you got to do. You can't get it perfect. What about era B residential houses? What do these look like? Let's see. Yeah, see, now we're getting into the more modern style houses, and these are really where you would have, what about era C? Let's have a look at these just to have a look. Oh, they are very modern. Yeah, these are, you know, if you had a new housing development on the outskirts of the village, that's where you'd probably want to be using some of them. Of course, we can always mix it up and go with some commercial buildings as well. There's no harm in that. The people do need places to shop. Maybe, let's look, what do the era A commercial buildings look like? Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, with that, yes, it's obviously it's a commercial building, but there's nothing that screams commercial building from the outside about that building, is there? It could be anything. It could be a house. Likewise, this one, it's a bit larger than the houses we have, but it all fits the vibe and the aesthetic. So we'll put a few of these down around here. So yeah, these aren't residences, but as I said, there's nothing from the outset that says that, really, not unless you get up close and really inspect them, which we're not going to be doing. This is the sort of thing where you're just looking from a distance as you're on a cab ride, for example. So yeah, we can get away with that, I think. What about commercial 2? What do we have here? Oh wow, that's big. Okay, these are getting very big here. What about that? That's fine. Now we do have the UK High Street assets enabled as well, which is the sort of thing we will be having in this area, and I believe they're in this one here by Mad Hatter. Let's see, small shops, yes, here we go. And again, you can set capacity here, which acts as a people magnet or a person generator. So if we set to 5, and again, we don't want this on every single building, and had something of a high street, maybe down down here and here. I think that'd be quite nice. So where's the frontage? There's the shop frontage. We want to make sure we have the front on display. And assets, what's that? What is, oh, does that give us stuff out back? Yeah, we'll put that because it makes it look a little bit more lifelike. So if we do these, do we need, we need lanes on, so that one's not gonna, that one didn't have these access points that we can see now from its counterpart, but that's okay. So yeah, if we just mix it up here, have varying styles of shops along this busier road here. Obviously you're going to need a post office in your village, so we'll go for one of those. And now we'll turn this off because, as I said, we don't want every single building to be generating 5, 10, 15, 20 people, because we want it to be a small sleepy village. We don't want hundreds of people milling around. So we'll have a few on this side as well. And I'm not really paying much attention to what building we are putting down, but what I don't want is duplicates, or I want to avoid duplicates where possible. So like this is a Robert Dias. We haven't used a Robert Dias yet, so we'll put a Robert Dias down. A travel agents, we don't have one of them yet, so we'll use one of them. A Vodafone, perhaps people don't have mobile or cell phones in 1931, but that's fine. And now we will start having some capacity enabled, because we want to make sure we have enough that we actually have the people there. But as I keep saying, it's about finding that balance between making sure you have people available and having too many people. So something like that is a bit of a high street. If we go back into Mad Hatter's assets, there are also, what we've got here, we've got public toilets and car parks. You have some larger shops as well, and maybe we could have a couple of large shops along this bit. These would have higher capacity because, well, they are larger shops. And what could we have here? A Laura Ashley, so the people can get some the newest trend in clothing. Bairstow Eve, which is, if you're not familiar, that is an estate agents, or realtors if you're of the North American vintage. Cotswold, which I believe is an outdoor shop, so where you buy your sports jackets and hiking and camping gear. Poundland, a staple of every British high street. You can't not have a Poundland, and that's just like a store where, well, everything costs, as the name implies, £1, give or take, anyway, in my experience. So yeah, this is shaped up quite nicely. It's nothing too special. I've never been an artistic kind of person, so there are obviously people out there who could do a much better job, make it look a lot more realistic than I can. But just to give you a general idea, you can see the sort of thing we're trying to achieve now, where we have some residences. We probably could do with some industries. Oh, what about a department store? They might be a little bit too modern. However, over time they will become less and less sore thumb and blend in, because we will be heading into 1960, 1980, 1990 hopefully, and so on, so they would start to blend in. We do want a pub, of course. We'll increase the capacity for this one, and we'll put our pub just there, I think. And it provides all the assets out the back. So we turn that option on, and look, we can already see people starting to head around, which is fantastic. Now, what residential building are you going to? Yeah, you're going to that one, because obviously none of these don't have the people magnet enabled by default, or even as an option setting. So we shouldn't have any people coming to these buildings down here, but these ones they do. So we'll see the odd person walking down here to the residential buildings, this one and this one. So what we could do is, there is a tool called the Pleb Magneteer. Here we go. And what we can do, you can choose a model, so you can have lampposts, dumpsters or pallets. And if we put a couple of these down, say one there and one there, it does, see what I mean now? Yes, they spawn out of the lamppost, which is a little bit odd, But I suppose what we can do actually, there's nothing stopping us doing this. If we go to this building here, we can actually put it inside the building. So if we were able to get that, and if we use a pallet so it's smaller, just behind the doorway there, and say there, then it looks like they are actually leaving the building rather than morphing out of a lamppost. So that's getting us more people knocking around. We don't want too many, as I keep trying to stress, but we do have people walking down the street now, heading hopefully to the high street. Let's see, where are they heading? The commercial building. Which one are you heading to? You're heading, okay, you're looking for a new house, are you? Going to Barstow-Eves, unless perhaps you work there. So yeah, here we go. We've got, well, this is actually creating, well, it's not quite a lot, is it? Not for a small village. There must be, what, 20 people about? I've not counted, but roughly about 20, which is fine. A lot of them going to the pub, which is, well, yep, that's absolutely normal. And we could put some more residences up here, up along this stretch of road. So let's do that, and let's see, what else do we have? So these are farms, but if we have some stone farm buildings, they would fit in quite nicely, but it doesn't look like we do. Maybe that one could work. Somewhere like that. That's okay. And what's this one here? That's not bad. No, maybe perhaps not, just because of the terrain there, because it's got a large footprint, hasn't it? Do we have any small varieties of this, or are they all the high-rise? They're all quite apartmenty, aren't they? Okay then, so let's just use some Era A residential buildings then. And we'll use residential 1 because they have that old brick style appeal to them. Now if we do terrain alignment, how far back? Yeah, you're going to be too far back. Right, so I think we just have to stick with the smaller ones where you can't come in, because you can see that's sunken in, although we could just raise it up, thinking about it. So yeah, we can go back to these larger ones, and we'll just have to fine tune its height like this. And that one's okay. Yeah, those stairs are submerged, but I quite like that, because here you need the stairs to get in, but here you don't, so they wouldn't build any, so I can live with that. Right, what else have we got then? This one again. I say again, I don't know if we've used it down at the other side of town, but something like that just there, and then we'll go to the other side of the road. Where's your frontage? There you are. And if you just drop down just a fraction, yep, perfect. And then we'll have a couple of smaller ones just to finish off this street here. And you can go there, and then some tiny ones. Where's the door? Is that the door there in that shed? I don't think it is it? Nah, there's the door. And you sit there, and you drop down to there, then you go there. That should do. And then you see all the people milling about in the distance. Now we go back to the pleb magnet here, if we just search for it. And these are residential, so again we're not going to put one in every building. If we can get it, say there, so we'll have one there, we'll have, if we could do that, that'll serve 2-ish. We'll put one in you, and we'll put one in you. There, so not every house is doing it, so we shouldn't be spawning a whole host of people, but just enough that hopefully we can create an artificial demand for a rail station out here. Now over time we can add to this. I think for now it's fine just as a proof of concept, and if it does work then we can start doing some detailing work, such as, you know, something what would be befitting of a school, for instance, maybe a play area, a park, a recreation area, then some more modern like a cinema and stuff like that. But yeah, just as a proof of concept, we'll see how this performs. So what we need now then, because this is obviously the big test, we need to see if we can actually get passengers at a passenger station over here. Now, do we want to pass through here, or do we want a terminus station? I think we'll have a pass through. Now, our mainline stations are all blue, so I think we'll switch to, say, red for these smaller stations out in the sticks. So if we have a nice red station with a small building size, we don't need anything too big, we don't want anything too big, and let's drop the platform length down to, shall we say, even just 80 meters, so it's a really small station. And if we connected that, say, on that junction just there, what sort of coverage does that have? It's not going to shade the buildings as normal, I shouldn't think, but you can see from the roads here the what would you call this, the moving dash line. Here's all its reach, so it's starting to fade up here, but it pretty much covers the entire village, that. So what I'm getting at is, would we need a bus service for this? And it looks like we wouldn't. Now, it's obviously gone with a Herne Bay generated name, because that's the nearest town, so the game sees it. So we will have to rename it, which means we can come up with a name for this village. So shall we call this what's a good name? Also, just thinking of a random English village name that I've heard before. Barton in the Beans. Yep, that's just an actual village. I've seen it on road signs, so it does exist. Look it up, Barton-in-the-Beans. Anyway, let's connect this in now. For this, we're not going to use high-speed track. We just want standard track. We don't need high-speed track. And do you know what? Let's not even have catenary out here. Let's keep this really old school. So what we're going to do, we're just going to connect in to this line. I know we've used high-speed catenary on the track we're linking into, but that's okay. So let's just play with this, just to make sure our gradients aren't too taxing. So if we go back 2.5%, 2.6%, that's fine. And we want to bring it up and connect in where we headed up here. Is 2.6 going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. The terrain doesn't seem to fall away at all. So we'll have to increase the gradient here. Let's go to 3%. Will that be enough to get us up? Well, what gradient is that? Is that 6.6? Yeah, so let's jump up to, let's see, in fact we might have to take all this back and go for a higher gradient immediately. Something like maybe 3.5%, maybe even 4%. Let's see what we can do. As you can see, to get to the height we need 5.5% technically. Let's see if we can get away with a 3.5 with some shenanigans with the track, some curvature. Right, let's see here. Well, what we could do, I mean, we have a platform over in Herne Bay, so we could curve the track and see now we're getting where we need to be and connect in like this. Let's keep it as high speed as we can. 60 miles an hour is fine, although the track looks a bit odd. Maybe if we stretch it out it'll look better. Does that look any better? I think so. So it's a very, well, it's a long merge, but it's fine. And it's also an ugly merge. Didn't check that, did I? So what we'll do then is we'll have to take our merge from the line like so. That way we should be, or we can fine tune it a little easier to make sure we have a nice overlap like that, and then connecting like that, although it's going to make the track do some funky twists and turns and shimmies and shakes. So let's just take it back a little further again. So it's a lot of trial and error here. And what would you do if you just did a straight shot connection? Yeah, I think that's okay. It's nothing too taxing, and it does give us a much more pleasant link in. In fact, we could arguably go all the way into the station and have a perfect full curve, but for the time being, it'll work, it'll do. Okay, so can we have a service now? This is a big question. That will work and it will ship people into Barton and out from Barton into Herne Bay. That's the test. Let's try it. So line manager, we're going to go from Herne Bay into Barton-in-the-Beans. The colour for this line, let's go for that teal colour. We've not used that yet. You've obviously opted for that platform because you can't use the mainline platform, you have no way to access it. And this will be, so we called the other one RPM, didn't we, for rail passenger mainline. So should we say RPL for rail passenger local? For now, we can use that. And in terms of a line name, so we're heading to the east, aren't we? Where's the line gone? I bet it's gone. Where's it gone? RPL. There we go. So in terms of keep it on there. Come on, that's better. So in terms of a line name, we'll get there eventually. How about what do we want to go for? What would work? Well, for now, until I think of something better. It is what time is it? Let me just have a look. Sorry. Yeah, it's 5 to 6 in the morning, so not quite awake. So we'll just go for Barton to Herne Bay. And as that, you know, if you've got a suggestion for a better line name, then please let me know. But something like that'll be fine. And if we want multiple trains, we will have to have a passing loop. Now, with this, I'd like to avoid a blanket double track coverage if I could. So if we just had this radius as double track, and then connected back in prior to joining the line there, like so, then we could have a nice, just a simple passing loop, so the trains we can have multiple trains running here. Yeah, we probably only want small signals here, we don't need anything too big and fancy. So that's the wrong one, there we go. We do want it to be one way, of course, so if we had that there and another one just there, that means we could, if we wanted to, have a one-way signal, sorry, a two-way signal, say here, but for now that's fine. Okay, yeah, so now we can actually have two trains running down here, and this is where they'll have to wait to pass one another, which is okay. Right, so let's get a train running and let's see if this actually does what we're hoping it will do. So for the locomotive, what about that? We've not used that before. This probably is a slow one, but that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a high-speed mainline express train. We're just looking for something that's going to shunt people from Barton into Herne Bay and vice versa. Nothing too extravagant. What does it look like when it's coloured, actually? Let's try. Yes. Passenger wagons. Which one do we want to use? I dare say we'll just use the cheaper one of the two. Yeah. If we just add, say, 3 on there, what speed's that going to do? I mean, it's still top speed on flat and medium grades. 7 million. Ooh, that's quite a lot. 13 for 2. Well, what the heck, let's get 2 of them. And let's put them on the line. Okay, so you're unable to find a path to the stop. Yes, you won't be able to, will you? Because we don't have that crossing point. So we are going to have a crossover from this track over onto this track. Right, so let's take care of that now. For this, because this is all high speed track, I guess we will have to use a high speed crossing point. The actual speed itself of the crossing point, not too concerned with. But we'll have as long as there's no signals nearby, we'll have a fairly elongated one, and as long as it's not going to mess the track up, which it doesn't look like it's going to do. No. So if we just do that, that gives them the access they need. And now let's go back to the depot, which is over here, and let's see if they can now find a way. They should be able to. No, still not able to, eh? Now, why is that? there's nothing stopping you going over there. Is it because it's registering? If we put that as a, I don't think that's going to make a difference, but just as a process of elimination, unable to find a path to the stop. Very interesting. So you'd come down here. You'd come down here. Oh, I see. Because all of our passenger trains are headed to Long Eaton from the depot. That's the problem. See, this is where they join the passenger line. That's okay. I see what the issue is now. Okay then. So, well, why don't we just give ourselves a bespoke depot for our passenger line? So first of all, we can remove, although should we leave that there just for scenery, if you know what I mean? Just leave it in place. It just breaks up the track a little bit. Yeah, we'll keep it in place, but we will want our own depot for our passenger line. And where would we want to put it? We want to put it somewhere logical, although do you know what the heck, let's just stick one down. Doesn't matter where, we'll stick one somewhere where it's going to be able to access our passenger line, and then we can always reposition it later rather than faffing about here and now. So let's go put one. Can we get it to be level with this track height here? Yeah, somewhere like that. And then tracks, high speed, catenary, yes, because we may want to bring electric trains out here at some point, although like I said, we're probably just going to end up relocating it somewhere a little bit more sensible. And go like that. And then if we sell those trains and just rebuild them down here. So buying vehicles, what do we have? We had the BR75.4 BAD6C, and we did colour them teal, didn't we? Yes, we did. And then passenger, we had the 6-wheeler, and we had 3 of them. Should we just go for 2 of them? Yeah, let's go for 2. Keep the cost down and make them feel a bit more local service as well. Now can you get to where you need to go? Yes, you can. Okay, problem solved. So we may as well have a look at these trains. We haven't seen them yet. They're not going to be too imposing. They're just a small little engine with a couple of carriages on the back, just to hopefully add to the vibrancy of the map, and also to get some people in and out of Barton. As I said, it remains to be seen whether we'll have some passenger pickup here. Hopefully we will. Perhaps we could. Are you all going to the station? Yes. Oh, it's all working, look. So it is going to work as intended, but, well, it does now appear as though every man and his dog in this village is now heading to the station, which isn't quite what I intended. We might have to just downgrade the amount of pleb magneteers that we have here, because, in fact, let's just speed it up just a little. We can see we're going to have suddenly end up with hundreds of people catching the train, because I think all of these will be coming to the train station. Yep, yes they are. Is that what we really wanted? I don't think it is. While we're just waiting, let's just smooth out some of this terrain around the rail station, shall we? Just blend it off a little bit. There we go. We don't want to do too much because we don't want to make our houses look weird because they're not aligned to the terrain. 68 people. Yeah, that's probably too much. And I dare say it's probably not realistic either for what we were looking to achieve with this. Right, we'll leave it for now. We can always perhaps get rid of some of those pleb. Oh my god. It's like a zombie horde. Yeah. Yeah, we can maybe fine-tune some of the pleb magneteers, get rid of some of them, maybe just have 1 or 2 for the entire village. So I'm gonna go ahead and say all you are coming to the station as well. Yep. Everybody's vacating Barton to head to Herne Bay. Yeah, not quite what I anticipated. But we can. What I'll do some experimentation between episodes with this, and if I just have 1 in the whole village, what will that do? Will it be enough to make the village feel alive in the background with people milling between the buildings, without causing this? Because this is too much. This is far too much. Yeah, I'll play about with it between the episodes because it's not what I anticipated at all. It's, in fact, as I mentioned at the start, it's what we were actively trying to avoid. We didn't want hundreds of people suddenly turning up, which is exactly what we've got. Yeah, we'll see what I can do anyway. Okay then, ladies and gentlemen, I think here's where we're going to end it for today. We'll hop on this train and we'll have a ride into Herne Bay and back. We'll do a full round trip on this one because it's only a short distance. No doubt by the time we get back to Barton there's going to be several thousand people waiting at the station. Yeah. Well, like I said, what I'll do, I'll have a play about between this episode and the next, just to see if there's anything we can do to try and curtail the amount of people that are heading to this station. If there's not, then we'll just have to live with it and suspend disbelief, shall we say. Cause mainly it was just to have an active train running down here, because I didn't want a train. I mean, we could have set a train up to a station down here what was doing absolutely nothing and was never making us any money, never taking any people, but that wouldn't quite be the same. So if there's nothing we can do about it, then so be it. Here we can see our passing loop in action because we have to wait, but as we can see the train is on its way now, so I'm not going to be waiting around for too long, and it does give us a chance to see the locomotive up close as it passes us by. There we go, very nice. So I do hope that you've enjoyed today's episode, even if it at the end there didn't quite do what I was hoping it was going to do, but never mind. And let me, like I said at the start, let me know if it's something you want to see more of, or what sort of ratio between default quote-unquote episodes and this style. And look at that, you can see the Flying Scotsman there off to the left, just passing the castle. The shadows of the trees there are doing some weird things, and I'm not sure what's happening there, but they've gone away now. That's quite nice, isn't it, seeing the Scotsman and the castle on the hill. I like that. Yeah, as I was saying, let me know about what sort of ratio you think we should have between like a building episode, a detailing, artistic, shall we say, episode, and a vanilla default style episode, and we'll try and get a nice blend between the two. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.